All right, go ahead and get started here. Before we really start talking about Washington State, do want to address something that happened in our game this past weekend with BYU. Obviously, like many of you, was really frustrated and disgusted to hear some of the things that were said during the game. Got the opportunity to reach out to Coach, to Kalani. I know our athletic director, Rob, got to reach out to Tom, their AD there at BYU, and express, our frustration and also apologize for the behavior of a few that really, puts a cloud over a great group and a really fun situation for our players and our fans on Saturday. So that being said, there's no room for that in our stadium, and anybody that's going to partake in that doesn't need to be in our stadium. So that's been addressed. We're looking forward to getting to play a good Washington State team. These guys have gone and won some tough games and been in some tough battles. Obviously, getting a chance to go play a team like Wisconsin and playing the way they did is really impressive. They won some tough games. I think they do some unique things offensively and defensively. Coach Dicker's done a great job up there of being aggressive on defense and creating some negative plays. They've had some really explosive plays on offense. They have a quarterback that can extend plays and does a good job of getting the ball downfield, but is also dangerous with his legs. So they certainly present some unique challenges. And as we all know, traveling to Pullman, that's a unique environment, a special environment to play games. So I expect them to have a great crowd out there and it to be a good challenge for our players.
Start with James here on the left.
Bo's situational splits on 3rd and 7+ and 3rd and 10+ compared to his time previous to here is about as sharp a 180-degree difference as there is. Talked a little bit after the game about stuff that you guys might have identified to help alleviate that. Can you expound on that, Dan, when you see those, like I said, I know it's a small sample, but it's so extreme. Like he went from one of having the tougher stats on those situations to now being among the top 10 in the country. That's about as sharp a difference as it gets.
No, I think it speaks to his growth as a player. I think it also speaks to the plan, for him. And I think we all can agree that being in 3rd and manageable or 4th and manageable is a lot better than being in 3rd and long, situations. So it's us making sure that we stay on, really, in sequence on offense to where we're not taking negative plays. We're not putting ourselves in holes to where you have to, go be in 3rd and 14 or 3rd and 10 situations. But he's done a good job of operating what we've asked him to do.
Right here in the middle, Eric.
Sticking on Bo, I'm just curious the play he has where he almost picks up the 3rd down, I should say, in the 4th quarter there, diving for it. Do you want him to slide? Do you have a conversation with that? Do you want to kind of guess, is there a balance between trying to limit his natural aggression as a runner, or kind of what's that dialogue?
I didn't tell him to slide. I mean, I like guys that are winners that want to go get first downs like Bo wants to get a first down. You obviously want to be smart, and but you're a competitor. You want to go get a first. And certainly at some point I could be sitting up here and I could regret that I said that. But I didn't, you don't tell guys how to compete. And Bo wanted to compete and go get a first down. I'm excited to see it. I remember being a kid watching, I didn't like the Broncos. I like the Chiefs. But I remember John Elway fighting for, first downs and like doing the spinning into the end zone. And like you appreciate that to me as a football coach. So I'm glad he's trying to go get a first.
Right, saying we're in the middle.
Washington State's defense allows only 12.7 points a game through the first two. Is there anything your offense needs to focus on specifically in this game, like that you guys need to focus on going into this week?
They bring some unique pressures, some rundown pressures, pass down pressures that can create negative plays. Their D-line's really aggressive. So, again, I think staying on schedule is important for us. We got to find those opportunities to make sure we don't, start off and be sitting there at 2nd and 12, right? You want to try to stay on schedule and instead of being 2nd and 12, be, 2nd and 6 or 1st and 10. And they do a good job of, generating pressure when they can generate pressure. And then when they can't, they do a good job of playing on the perimeter. So, they've done a great job on defense of, staying on task. So that's impressive by them.
All right.
Second-ranked opponent, Dan, can you just talk about the things that you think the team has grown the most in since that matchup with Georgia, now that you've watched the film against BYU?
I think we're playing a little bit more of a physical brand of football, really on both sides of the balls. We've obviously been able to establish the run and then do a good job tackling on the perimeter the last couple games. That's something that has to continue for us. We've said, for us, it's about chopping wood and carrying water, right? There's work to be done, and if you want results, you got to keep chopping wood and keep carrying water, and you got to do that at practice, right, for that to show up in a game. So that's the last few weeks, our practices have been really good, and it's shown up and carried over in the game. I think we got to see the same thing this week.
Back left, Trevor.
Dan, you're one of just 4 teams that hasn't given up a single sack yet, and you've done that with some reshuffling in your rotations. What do you attribute that stat to?
It's a combination of our guys doing well up front, the ball coming out on time up front. Our coaching staff's done a good job as well, but it's also, a tribute to what kind of defenses we've been playing. I think if you watch the last game, you're going to see a lot of 3-man rush from BYU. That's easier to protect against and get the ball out than it is when people are bringing 5 or 6. So I'll say this, we don't want to give up sacks, but on the same note, our goal isn't how many sacks we give up a game. Our goal is to win, right? And that can be viewed a couple different ways, but it's a really good job by, our offensive staff, Coach Clem, and those guys up front. But it's not the only measuring stick for us offensively.
Right here, second row.
Coach, in the last couple of games, after the last couple of games, you've said that you definitely had some moments that you wanted back, some plays you didn't want to give up. What's your message to the defense heading into conference play, and especially going on the road in a really tough environment to play like Pullman?
Yeah, let's put plays, back to back, together. Let's keep operating, play a complete game. I still think, for us, we haven't played a 4-quarter game in all phases. That's something I want to see from us. But yeah, we want to go out there, compete, and grow. So there was a lot of learning moments from us in this past game against BYU where, to a certain fan or a spectator, it might not look for a moment of growth. For us, there's a lot of things that we can get better at, and we ID'd those today. Our players went out and attacked them today, and I thought we had a really good practice.
Back right, Matt.
You faced the air raid in the SEC with Leach, but Dickert has called this the Cougar raid. It's a more balanced, approach to that. I think they had a tight end catch a pass for the first time in 11 years. Difference between the traditional air raid and what they're trying to present as the Cougar raid.
Yeah, they are. They're more balanced. It's unique. When I've played teams like this in the past, you kind of carry one defense, and it's what you have to play, the entire week, and it's usually a little bit unique for that. That being said, they still have 11 personnel. They have 12 personnel. Like you said, they use the tight end. So it's more to prepare for. They do a lot more, but they still can create some of those issues that the air raid can create. So not as much time can be devoted to one thing in practice, and I think that's a challenge. They do a good job of mixing it up, and their tight end certainly has caught a couple passes this year. Does a good job.
James, front left.
With a chance to review the film, Dan, your thoughts on how Triquez, Jaleel, and Dante each played, since they were each picked on at times, each gave up passes from one hash to the opposing out, and what will determine who among them plays more now going forward?
Yeah, I mean, you said it. Each one of them had opportunities, and each one, had success and didn't have success. So I think we have to continue to, grow. We're going to play as many players as we can that can play winning football. All 3 of those guys are very capable of playing winning football and have. It's about developing consistency, there at that position and being able to go make plays when those opportunities come your way. So, again, I think all those guys can play for us and play winning football. We'll play as many guys that can.
In the middle, Eric.
Speaking of making plays, I thought Bucky was pretty spectacular on a couple of those runs. When you start seeing that develop out of him, is that something I guess maybe you saw in fall and the running back rotation as a whole? Kind of 3 guys this last week. Was that injury related? Is that a condensed in the rotation? Is it going to be week by week? What can you say about that?
It's a combination of who was available in the game for us, and also who's playing well. Yeah, I've seen Bucky run with violence. What I was more excited about when you walk away from that game compared to even the Eastern Washington game is, one of our big goals as an offense was how do we play without the ball? I think the very first play, Chris Hudson gets the ball, but you see Bucky out there blocking his tail off. Troy Franklin had several plays where he's blocking like crazy. Bo's getting out there in front blocking. The way we were blocking and playing without the ball was what was really impressive to me. And I think some of those explosive plays that came on Bucky runs or Noah runs or whoever had the ball at the time, that was credit to what other people around them were doing as well. So that's a benefit. Again, I've been a part of a lot of situations. When I was at Georgia, we're playing for a national championship. We had 5 backs that had close to 50 carries. So you'll play as many guys that can play winning football, and it's nice for us to have, a group right now that can do that.
Second row on the right yard.
Hey, Dan, I'm just wondering if there's an update on Stephen Jones and if you guys are hopefully making him back relatively soon.
Yeah, hopeful that we can get him back. I don't know that I have a direct timeline on him right now.
Back left, sure.
Dan, Luke Combs believed in you guys. What'd you think of that? And when's the concert coming to Autzen Stadium?
I don't know. Yeah, that was, it's always good to have a little fun after a game, but glad he picked us. Good pick.
Right here on the right.
Looking back at it now, Coach Bo goes out of the game. You guys are up big, and then he has to come back in and kind of finish the job up. Now that you've kind of reflected on that situation a little bit, what do you think that says about his ability to stay locked in, and what message does that send to the rest of your team?
Yeah, I think all of our players were engaged the entire game. I think we all wanted to play better there going into the fourth quarter, and we're certainly capable of that. But I don't know if there's a certain message that's delivered there other than every one of our guys has to be available and ready the entire game.
Right here, second row.
Coach, the last couple of games you guys have gotten off to really quick starts. Kind of was mentioned earlier, Wazoo's got a really good defense. What do you think are the keys for your team getting off to that really fast start against a really tough defense?
Preparation, doing it in practice first, lets it carry over to the game. The openers, the plays that we run offensively and defensively early in the game are plays that we've practiced all week. So when you can do those consistently in practice, it'll carry over to the game.
Back right, Matt.
3 games into a season, you can start seeing trends form, and still plenty of time to maybe turn them around. Third down defense for you has been inefficient, last in the country. How can you fix that, and what's made it so hard for this defense to get off the field on third down?
Yeah, I mean, it's something we got to continue to work on. I think week one put us it obviously at disadvantage. You look at week one because we did really poorly week one. I think it's gotten better each week, but there's certainly some moments that continue to improve. I'm not looking at the small sample size of 3 games. I'm going to look at, the entirety of the season, but we'll always self-evaluate our growth there and continue to look to improve.
James.
What makes Deon Henley for them just this? Like he's leading in virtually every statistic, not just for them, but nationally among sacks. He's forced 2 fumbles, interception. I mean, he's got like a season stat line in 3 games. And this is a transfer who started his career as a receiver. What is it about him that allows him to be this dynamic?
Yeah, athletic ability, motor, versatility. I think you see all that, and they use him in a lot of unique ways, which, obviously that's a benefit for them.
Middle, Eric.
Small sample size, I guess, still, but how do you reflect on your guys' return game? It seems like there's been some good returns, but some up and down plays. Chris kind of mismanaged one maybe this last game, but still feeling good about kind of what you've got back there.
Yeah, I think we just got to be more consistent, and creating those opportunities in practice. We were able to show, some balls that were mismanaged in practice, and then we were able to show the game film, and guess what? It shows up in both places. So we work it. We have to work it and do it consistently in practice for it to carry over in games. But we have people that are very capable back there to return kicks for us, and we just got to take advantage of our athleticism when we get the chance.
Back to James.
Wazoo, I think, leads the country, or certainly leads the conference in takeaways, but they also give away some. I mean, you can always talk about like ball security and takeaways is key to every game, Dan. But when an opponent has, I think, had multiple takeaways in 13 of their last 16 games, is there any, let's say, extra emphasis, but anything different by way of emphasizing ball security when an opponent is so proficient at it?
Yeah, you want to, takeaways come in bunches usually, right? We talk about games. Generally, they come in bunches, and it's something we certainly emphasize every single week on defense and offense. We did a ball security circuit today on offense, right? It's always going to be, at the forefront for us, but you want to take advantage of opportunities when the ball's in jeopardy. So we try to identify those, and hopefully that's something we can capitalize on this week.
In the back right, Matt.
Duke has started the last 2 games at inside linebacker. Feel like he took a big step against BYU. Can you just maybe evaluate his growth this season through 3 games for you?
He's done a good job for us being available. That's a part of it. And, part of that's based on the personnel that BYU's put out there on the field. When we play 12 personnel, we're going to play a little bit bigger at times. Jackson's done a good job of knowing his assignment and being available to help us.
On the right, Rob.
One thing I've heard from fans each of the last couple of weeks is just being impressed with when you identify an area for improvement, it's showing up. Perimeter defense after week 1 looks a lot better week 2. You say last week you'd like to create a few more big plays. You're able to effectively do that. Has any part of you been surprised, impressed, whatever, with how much you've been able to say to your team, we need to get better here, and how quickly they've been able to absorb that and show improvement that way?
I just think it speaks to the character of our team and being able to take constructive criticism. It's such a trait that doesn't exist in youth at times today, where you hear something, if it doesn't sound like what you want it to sound like, it's not necessarily everybody wants to go work on it. Our guys have been hungry to improve, and if they see something they can get better at and they can see a visual of why it matters, it usually carries over. And they do a really good job of receiving a message and then trying to detail their work so they can be better at it.
In the middle, Eric.
That jumbo package, I wonder if there's a name. Marcus Harper called it the big boy package. I don't know if that's going to stick. And then I guess, why is Josh such a good fit as an extra lineman? And what was the audition process of finding a fullback? Because that's not something Oregon's done in a while.
Yeah, it's something we've carried and worked on. You know, you've seen it for the first time really last week, but it's something that, you know, we've carried and wanted to be able to use. And we liked the way it looked early on when we used it in the game, and it felt like it was something we can lean on, you know, throughout the game. So again, Josh is a guy that's been, you know, he's grown more and more every single week into a role that we feel like we want to be able to make sure we can get him on the field and use him. And that's certainly a place that he can help us there.
Back to James.
DJ Johnson certainly showed up a lot in the box score there, but there were a lot of plays that he helped make that weren't necessarily in the box score. It seemed like he was really all over the field this past week. What was your evaluation, just how he played from what showed up and what showed up more on film maybe at times than statistically?
Yeah, I think, you know, DJ's a guy that we can constantly point out defensively for us in our practice film and then on game film of his relentless effort and pursuit of the ball, right? And that carries over, you know, it leads to, you know, like you said, several tackles, but also an impact on a lot of plays within the game. So I know DJ has some plays that he wishes he had back, you know, from that last game where he can grow. I'm looking for more opportunities for him to do that, but when you play with great effort, it shows up.
On the right, Garrett.
I wonder what you made of Brandon Doris' performance. I know PFF graded it out really well. What did you guys see from him?
What PFF grade him as?
Overall,
Yeah, we don't look at the PFF grades, but Dorless played good. He played a good game. He's, you know, there's just like I said with DJ, there's some moments where I know that Dorless probably wants to have back that he feels like he can do better, but he's been a guy that's embraced growth, right? And he's been a guy that, you know, practices really hard and then plays really well. And that's kind of the way it works. When you practice really hard, you play well, right? And that showed up for him, you know, in the game. So really pleased that he's able to help us out and help out our team.
On the left, back-to-back Jarrett's.
Dan, can you just talk us through your decision to go for it on fourth down inside your own territory and how quick that decision was for you and what was the talk on the sidelines like?
Yeah, I think I said it before, but that decision was made before the game started for us. We knew what situations within the game, when, you know, what we liked and what we felt would be effective against them. And sometime I'll probably come in here and it won't work, right? And I'm sure I'll get a lot of questions about that, right? But at that moment, we felt really confident in what our plan was, and that decision was made well before, you know, we got to the field on Saturday.
James.
Your thoughts on how Andrew Boyle did kicking off once again, and given that he came from there, anything that he can offer you by way of insight into Wazoo's special teams? I know they changed special teams coaches, but anything that he might be able to offer you guys specifically for this week?
You know, I haven't asked him yet. I probably should. You know, I don't know if I need to wear like a long sleeve shirt or a T-shirt, but that would probably be the first question I'd ask Andrew. I think he would tell you that he wants to be more consistent, right? You know, he had some really good kicks, and he's very capable of placing the ball in the right spot. He's just got to do it more consistently.
Back to James.
The TV cameras missed it, but those of us in the building, some of us didn't. How has the management of in-game defensive subs become a little bit of an art at times?
Yeah, I mean, you work. So we do move the field periods within practice, right? And anytime an offensive team is going to change their personnel, it gives you the opportunity defensively to change your personnel as well. So they have to make decisions. We get an opportunity to match the decisions that they make offensively, and we try to take advantage of that.
Last question, Eric in the middle.
How are Byron and Justin progressing from the injuries?
They were both able to practice today. You know, I wouldn't sit here and say they're both 100% yet, but I'm hopeful that both of them can sit here and help us this next weekend.
Thank you, Coach.
Appreciate
your
it.
time.
Have a good